So, yeah, listen, let's just.
Why don't you do the intro?
Okay.
Yeah.
This may shock you. I actually don't know that much about anybody. So, I learned a lot about you last week on our podcast, I think. So, we have, welcome, Scotty Jones.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Who is us in this? Is it yourself?
I have my friend. Yes.
And the LaCroix and the bottle of tequila that you brought with us. So,
which we didn't even drink yet, and I still address.
No,
myself
well,
as
fun
us.
fact: Brendan doesn't drink,
but I drink Spindrift.
so this is now weird.
No,
And
apologize.
I hate tequila.
You hate tequila? Andrew drinks a lot of tequila.
Well, it's not for me, man.
Yeah.
It's not
I'll
for
bring
me.
it to Andrew.
I actually knew both of those things.
That's
I
why you
love
did.
tequila.
So he was
So
just taking it home.
You're taking it home. So, yeah, thanks for joining us, man. A owner of multiple real estate franchises. You're a franchisee
I'm a franchisee. Yes,
of multiple locations of Remax.
Correct. Remax Platinum. Yep.
We got Saugus and the Bridgewater firm, correct?
Melrose, Bridgewater, and Carver. But you were close. I was originally in Saugus. So
Oh, okay. Well, whoopsies. I don't know why, but I thought you closed Melrose. You closed Saugus.
close Saugus, moved into Melrose.
Roger. How's that going? Melrose is such a tough market.
It's a very tough market. It's a
Wait, why is Melrose a tough market?
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Okay, can't wait to hear that.
We'll talk about that.
I thought everybody wanted to live in Melrose.
That's why it's a tough
Yes.
market.
Oh, gotcha.
No inventory, everything sells. It's like whose line is it anyway? The prices are made up and they don't matter. And I think that was the whole. It was a bad analogy about whose line is it anyway.
Oh, okay.
I actually knew what you're talking about. I used to love that show.
Everything's
But
made
it
up.
is.
The points are
It's-
made up, and it doesn't, and they don't matter. Or
Exactly.
Something, so, but yeah, listen, we know each other from doing a deal in Beacon Hill.
Yep, right next to the State House.
Yeah, the old Bellevue Hotel, if you recall, right by Moo.
I know where that is.
I sold a pied-à-terre for a client of mine,
Fancy French
which by the way, that's when I learned what a pied-à-terre was, because it was theirs, and it's just a really small unit in the city that they use as like a crash pad instead of a hotel, because they went there every weekend. So
It is a hotel room in essence.
yes,
Yeah.
literally,
With a little
ironically was
Yeah.
in an old hotel
Yep.
also.
And how much does a pied-à-terre in an old hotel cost?
That I believe $450.
Jeez, no, they didn't pay a lot. It was like mid to high threes.
Okay, $380. I think it was.
Yeah,
$380.
I think you're right. But
In what year? 2023?
no, this was in the middle of COVID. It was 2020 or maybe.
It was because it was a ghost town.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy. And we were wearing masks all the time.
Yep.
And I think it was 383 square feet. No, it was way less than
No,
that.
smaller. It was like 212 square feet. It was literally a small hotel room.
Yeah.
And
Sounds it.
And yeah, cool roof deck right next to the State House. But yeah, your client bought it, and we stayed in touch,
Yep.
which is pretty cool. So why don't you just introduce yourself instead of letting me talk about who you are?
Sure.
And talk to the listeners, the people out there of the Word podcast, just a little bit about how you ended up in real estate and kind of your history, your career in the biz.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll talk about lots of nothings, lots of sweet nothings from there.
I'm really good at talking about nothing.
Listen.
So are we.
Yeah, listen. That's
Built a
actually why we-
career on it.
Yeah, that's actually why we have this.
Yeah.
So
You can't sell any houses now,
Yeah,
so
no, there's no
you have to
houses
do
to sell.
something.
But so thank you very much, though, both you guys for having me. That's really nice. I'm excited to be here.
Don't hit the
Yes.
table.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just
Trying
pointing
to
at
keep my
you.
hands Italian though, so
Yeah.
I'm Italian. I use my hands to talk. So
Yeah,
sorry.
it's okay. We'll let
Yeah,
it
I
slide.
started. I didn't start out my career in real estate. I was in the real estate field. I was all the way back to my great grandfather were builders and developers. That's what I did for the first part of my career, all the way, from the time I was like 10 years old, loading dumpsters, sweeping floors, all the way through high school.
Sounds
college.
like child labor.
It was, yeah. I'd get stuck in they literally would put me in a basement, and I would
Sweep this.
snap all the rods in the basement, grade the basement, stone.
Remove
floor.
the asbestos.
Before I was even able to drive, so they would
It's
just.
called building
drop-
character, right?
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and maybe mesothelioma.
Yes.
Whatever that word is.
There are law firms.
When I was
okay.
when I was really young, they put me in the closets to paint the closets because nobody really cared how to paint in the closet.
Why doesn't no one paints the closets usually?
Yeah, well, we did apparently.
I think they might have just
Yeah.
been trying to get rid of you.
Some of our closets are painted.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Are they painted a different color than?
The room, yeah. One's black. One's wallpapered.
Mm,
Yeah.
This was
This
just a neutral white.
this might be a gay thing.
It may be. I mean, it's highly decorated.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
So anyway,
Painted closets.
Did that. I went to school. Went to Merrimack College. Met my wife there, which was great. But other than that, I was asked to leave Merrimack College. We'll discuss that maybe.
Oh, we'll
maybe
get to
later.
that.
And so I continued with the construction career. I was a laborer, carpenter, project manager, and I never loved it. I actually loved the building of the homes, but it was, you were married to these clients for a year, 14 months, because we're building big custom homes. And it just burnt me out. And then dealing with subcontractors and weren't showing up, and schedules, and there's things, mid 2000s, that's when this was. And
Sure.
just kind of everything just hit the fan. And long story short, I knew I wanted to stay in the real estate world. So I went in 2008, got my real estate license, which was a great time.
Perfect time to start
to get
it,
your real
yeah.
esght license.
What could go wrong?
No, right, I mean,
Everything was already wrong.
yeah, exactly. It was already wrong, but
Did you cash some checks first?
not really. But yeah, so I got my real estate license in 2008, and I fell in love with it right away. I loved working with the buyers, sellers, and just kind of ran with it from there. And in 2015, I opened my first real estate brokerage, and here we are, 3 offices and 50-ish agents later, something like that.
Crazy.
And you also have mortgage, right?
I do, yes. We have a Motto Mortgage Pinnacle is our mortgage arm, and it's a mortgage brokerage. We've been doing that since 2020. We actually opened that up in the middle of COVID. So I really like to time things.
Yeah.
Around
Best possible.
substantial
Yes,
events
exactly.
that ruined the economy.
Exactly.
Yeah, listen,
So,
they say that, I'm just going to script a quote. It's like when, be greedy when people are fearful. Was that it with Mr. Buffett?
Yes, yes.
Good time to actually double down and scale up.
Yeah.
But very scary nonetheless. You got to have the
No, for sure. And yeah, we did catch the end of that, the refi boom, which was great. But then, 6 months or a year later, whatever it's been.
Yeah. Make sure you're talking on the mic.
Sorry. I would know.
It's great.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
We're just going to yell at you.
I am married.
Yeah. Well, fair. Expand a little bit on the mortgage business. How's that been going since you started?
And whether or not Seth should get into the mortgage business.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd say yes, to be honest. I mean, it fits very well with real estate, right? You've got
For sure.
a thriving real estate brokerage. Mortgage fits in nicely. It's a totally different world, I will say. The lingo, the speak. It is a super regulated world, unlike real estate is the Wild West compared to mortgage. Yeah, mortgage is not going to let you be you. You're going to do what the Division of Banks says. But it is really cool. It's in doing real estate since 2008, doing that full time, kind of having something else to dive into on a daily basis is pretty cool too. It's a little refreshing,
And is Moto, because you're Moto Pinnacle, right?
Yep.
Is Moto a affiliated brand with Remax? They're typically associated with Remaxes, right?
So yes and no. It is
Okay.
the parent company is Remax,
Yeah.
Holdings LLC. However, they did brand it completely differently from their Remax brand because they didn't want to pigeonhole themselves into just Remax offices. So when I go to like the conferences, the national conferences, there's broker owners that own EXP franchises and Berkshire Hathaway and
Reference
Real
groups.
Estate Group. I think would be a great fit.
Wow. Sales
Talk to
pitch.
you about
Here we
that
are.
afterwards. And it's been really good.
Oh, we got them labeled today.
I did. I labeled them
I
just
like this.
earlier. Yeah. I'm just trying to be better every
Was that
week.
before or after you broke the microphones?
This is technically after. Yeah.
Contemporaneous.
Yeah.
He was breaking it while he was writing them.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I was trying to go for a cleaner look without the arm.
I think maybe if we just get higher, I'll look into
higher
new stands because I think if they're up here, they're better, and we don't have to hunch over. So
Well, maybe it's the very interesting chair table combo that we're rocking that I don't think is helpful. But we're working on it.
yeah,
One of these days you're gonna come in. There's gonna be neon lights everywhere with different camera setups, and
I know a place we can order the word logo in a neon light.
Wow.
I do as well because I bought one for my office.
Oh, how's it look?
It's
Sick?
awesome. It's really cool. The
Well-
agents love it. They take their closing photos in front of it. I can.
Listen,
share that with you.
I strongly encourage you to go ahead and take action on that.
We will look. You're gonna have to send me a link.
I will.
All right.
I thought you said a place.
I do, but I want to see the one he's got.
Okay.
They show up on Instagram all the time. You don't
They
get,
do. They're
you don't
very
get the ads.
They're very expensive. I used to click on them. I can't do it anymore.
I click on all the ads.
Well, I'm trying to not.
I love a targeted ad.
Well, listen, I'm all about retargeting.
I heard in the last podcast you talking about retargeting.
You have to
ads.
do it.
Yeah,
You got to do it.
You're doing it.
We're doing it.
You're doing it. Yeah.
I mean, not me personally.
Firm.
We have somebody that does it because
yeah.
I don't.
You don't sell right now, or you do sell.
I I don't really sell. I mean, friends, family, like close referrals. I will do.
Rick
Yes.
who buys a lot.
Yes, Rick who buys a lot. We've built a house for him. He's flipped properties. So clients like that, I will work with. But for the most part, my focus is on the brokerage and helping them grow their business in the motto side. So.
And so we've been in real estate now for we'll call it 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with the market? Age-old question. What's going on, man?
I mean, I'm sure you look at stats every day too, right? It's like the prices continue to go up. Rates are continuing to go up. I don't know. To be totally honest, I feel like it's going to continue on that trend.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think it's going to be as much of a price increase as we've seen over the last few years, but I think you're still going to see steady appreciation.
For sure.
So in and around Greater Boston, right? You talk about other parts of the state, other parts of the country, potentially not, but people want to be here. People want to be in and around Boston.
It's
and there's not a lot of place to build.
No, there's nowhere to build.
No.
It's just crazy to me that, like, man, I haven't been in that long, right? But what a volatile market we found ourselves in the last, let's just call it a year.
Yeah.
Right. We all thought it was going to be over faster than it was. I thought the fall market was going to be more steady than it was. Most people had worst Q4 they've ever had, and I think most people are continuing to have a really rough Q1.
I totally agree. And I believe, so I didn't look this month, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, good business owner.
But I looked last month at the Eastern Mass stats. You probably have seen this too, but we were down about 20% in sales in units in Eastern Massachusetts.
Over 2022.
Over 2022, correct.
Which was down from 2021.
Exactly.
How come no one's comparing to 2021 yet?
Because I don't think you should compare it to 2021. I think you should compare it to 2017 or 18. Okay.
And why is that, Seth?
All right. So we went from a fairly decent market with, it was more like a stable real estate market. Okay. We had an okay amount of inventory. We had rates were 4 to 5%. I think I bought a single family home, and I just remember like at the wire rates slid a little bit, and I got 4.25%. Right. So like, so rates 2016, 17 were kind of more normalized. We had inventory that was kind of more normalized because rates were, I think, a little bit lower before then, just coming off of 08, 09, whatever, 2011 when rates were in the threes and stuff. So then we went to just like, I don't know, things sat on the market for 30 to 50 days, and it was just like healthy.
There was a time in 2018, I want to say like August, September, October, like that time that homes were sitting. I was like, oh, okay, this is it. Like this is
a crash.
Yeah, this
right?
is it. Like, yeah, we're gonna see the next crash.
And then 19 was a crazy year. It was pretty busy, right? Mm-hmm. And then COVID, right in the spring of 2020.
Again, I thought the world was over. Like everyone's gonna lose their houses, everything.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I listed a beach house in Gloucester, and it was the middle of March, and like we had it was in like Coffin's Beach, private neighborhood, and I was like, man, I made it. Like this, I'm gonna kill it with this sale, right? $multi-million sale, and it's gonna fly, bidding war like crazy because nothing ever turns over there, and like we ended up like ordering pizza to our open house because it was so many people were there. We stayed like an hour and a half late because people just kept coming and coming. And we wrapped up at like 3:00.
Was that the first super spreader event in Massachusetts?
No, later on that afternoon, like I was like picking up my sign, and Baker like closed the world, and I was expecting an offer from these people. They owned a pizza shop, and they're like, we just got closed. We can't buy a beach house anymore. So, and I was like, I'm gonna die. And I had just like I just quit my job like 6 months before, right? So. But anyway, so the market was crazy in 2020, although again ebbed and flowed a lot because rates slid so much, and then demand. There was, I think I looked at the stats earlier this year, like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There was always in like Massachusetts, like 15,000 some odd, or sorry, in Suffolk County, like 15 million some odd, 15 billion some odd in real estate sales. Okay. So there's always just like 15 billion Suffolk County every year, like, a couple million up, couple million down, very steady. And in 2021, any guesses? The billion?
26.
It was like 22 billion in real estate volume. The amount of transactions skyrocketed. So when we sit here and we compare today's inventory to 2021, like everyone was selling, everyone was buying, and there just wasn't there's not an extra 7,000 transactions. So if you actually look at last year in 2022, there was like 15 million billions. I keep saying it, 15,000, whatever, 15 billion some on a real estate sale sold again. So
but didn't the prices go up? So wouldn't that still be a reduction in transaction volume? But
so the transaction count was significantly less in 2022 than it was in 2021.
Over 21,
yeah. But moral of the story is like 2021 was the outlier.
Yeah,
is my point. So like I don't want to compare anything to it. And so sure, 2022 inventory was down over 21. What's scarier now is 2022 is like kind of normal, and now this year is worse.
Right.
Way worse.
Way worse. Way more real estate agents in the business now than there were back then.
Yeah.
I forget what the exact numbers are, but
I do too, but it's a significant,
I
think it's like 1.5 times more. So there's more agents doing less deals. There's less inventory. And I think I just saw a slide the other day, specifically the last 2 to 3 years, the amount of homes for sale in general is starting to really compound downward.
Yeah.
I think it was like 430,000 some odd homes for sale last year. This year it's like 350, and it was 480 in like 2021. So the inventory position is going to continue to get worse. Rates, we're going to be in this mortgage rate jail where no one wants to upsize and shit, right? So
why?
There it is. Swear.
There
we go. Break the dam now. So,
but why would you you have to have a pretty damn good reason to sell right now, right? Like you have to be busting out of your home,
right?
Relocation, job relocation, divorce, unfortunately, death. But other than that, like, why are you walking away from your 3% interest rate?
Unless you've owned for a long time and don't have a mortgage.
Yeah.
But those people don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
But they have the cash, so they could buy. I heard boomers just surpass millennials as the biggest home buying group.
Right, but if you look at...
Because it was that way. And
then millennials slid in. And now they all hate the interest rates. I think they're boycotting buying or something.
Well, they can't afford to buy what they want with the interest rates.
Right.
And it's not available because the boomers aren't selling.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I know that a lot of our clients, especially on our estate planning side, would love to buy a smaller house in the community that they live in, but there aren't any. There aren't any ranches. There aren't any townhouses or anything, any like viable solutions for downsizing. So those people don't have mortgages. It's not the interest rates that's holding them. It's the stock.
And that's been going on for a while. Because when my parents sold their house in, I want to say it was like 2016, somewhere around the 2015. And big house, in Saugus. My mom's Italian, entertaining.
Guinea goats.
Exactly. Big kitchens, all that stuff. And when they were downsizing and they just couldn't find something that fit, just basically take the big, 3,000 square foot house, make it 1,800 with a nice kitchen and, just couldn't find it. So they ended up building an addition on my sister's house, an in-law apartment. Luckily, my father was a builder, so he could do it, but everyone's not that fortunate, right? So it's been that way for a while.
And they probably did it without selling first?
No, they did sell first.
Oh, okay.
They could have, but they had a place in Florida to go, so it wasn't like a...
Right.
But
it's zoning allowed for that?
This was they built in Wakefield.
They built in Wakefield.
Yes, it did. It doesn't hurt to have friends in the building department, but no, it did meet all the zoning requirements. Yeah,
sure. We'll check.
Well, that's one of the things I rail on quite frequently is like our zoning is not equipped for what we need, right? So like we had Eileen Duff here a couple of weeks ago from the North Shore Realtors Association, and we talked a lot about accessory dwelling units or ADUs, but in-laws, right? In Salem, you couldn't do an in-law until a year ago. Right, like
it's still most of the towns are like that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's such an antiquated way of thinking. Like we get it. We don't want people having an Airbnb attached to their house and all kinds of people coming in and out. But elderly and the seniors and just the cost of housing makes a lot of sense to have a second income or that down payment from the parents' house to put towards yours.
Yeah, especially with the cost of childcare, it just makes a ton of sense. So
childcare
it's a whole.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah, we should start a whole different podcast on the cost of childcare, but
we don't have time for another podcast on childcare.
The cost of everything, really, though.
It's crazy.
It's tough right now.
Yeah, it is. So
operating a small business is
not the best times. So, So how is so I really wanted to have you on because I thought it'd be really cool to talk a little bit about kind of the next iteration of brokerage ownership, whether that's franchise or not, multiple locations, got to be really difficult, right? So talk to us a little bit about like agent performance coaching and like what's it like in multi-unit real estate world, and just kind of catch us up on how you found the business kind of working in a different market.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I'd spend a lot of my.
He's been thinking about it for a week,
a minute and a half.
I spend a lot of my days just thinking about how can we make the brokerage better, and then B, how does that help the agents get better, right? And I truly think, and Remax might not be happy about me saying this, but the actual brick and mortar offices and 12 different offices in one state, like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Look at EXP.
Exactly. Look at Real.
Right.
Virtual metaverse office.
It makes a lot of sense. So we do our best to keep our costs low, right? To streamline that. You got to stay lean. But I think what's very important right now as a real estate agent, and then for me as a broker owner, is to make sure that the real estate agents are doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? You can't do what you did in 2020, 2021. You're not just going to stick a sign in the ground. Everyone's going to come buy the house. You're going to get 25 leads out of it. Like, that's not happening anymore. So you got to go back to your basics, right? You got to go back to your database, your sphere of influence. Social media is huge. I know you guys both talk a lot about social media.
Yeah.
Huge, right? If you don't have a presence on social media in today's day and age, there's a good chance you can be out of business in the next few years, right? I mean, like...
Or you should be.
Right, yeah.
I vote for should be.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. We all know, like, after you spend... I mean, geez, I've been in the business 5 years, essentially, right? Full-time, right? So, and sure, I'm sure some of that is online presence and whatnot, but there's plenty of agents that did things a different way before social even existed, right? And I'm sure they'll still continue to be busy, but I think, unfortunately, in this like attention age that we're in, where like everything's grasping your attention, it's really difficult to know what's for sale everywhere. Like I'm sure I pull a hot sheet from time to time, right? But I'm not studying every single market where all of my clients are looking. It's impossible, right? So like I rely heavily on the agent relationships that I have to be like, oh man, Brandon's got a property in Reading. Like this is perfect for my clients. Like boom, comment, tag, DM, whatever. And I feel like we get some deals done that way, right? And like just lifting up the inventory.
Exactly, and playing nice, right? It's a small sandbox that we play in, and so many agents are just, their heads get huge. They can't fit through the door. I've been doing this since, whatever. I don't really give a shit how long you've been doing it for.
Yeah,
let's get along. Let's make it smooth. But yeah, if you do that and people respect you, you're going to get a chance to go in maybe before everybody else sees the property, or maybe your offer that's the same as another agent's goes to the top of theirs because they know it's going to get done.
Yeah, or we've done a half a dozen deals together, and I know that I can tell my client, listen, I've done a transaction with this guy before. He's a professional, so if we really had to coin flip between offer A and offer B, I want to take B because I know Scotty, and I know that he's going to get his client to the closing table, and I know he's going to be super easy and accommodating during the transaction. I think everyone wants that.
I don't know if that's actually true, but I know what you're saying.
I mean, it's true.
Theoretically.
Your guy paid cash. It was pretty easy.
That was
but as broker owners too, like I would assume that this is helping you in recruiting, right? So like the better relationships you have with agents that aren't in your firm, like when you call them to take them out or however you go about your recruiting, like they're going to be much more likely to be receptive.
Sure. And I think right now they just need someone that's present, right? Like you need to show up and show that you care, because there's a lot of agents that are struggling right now. And I mean, you just went over the numbers. The numbers aren't great. Agents are struggling. They're scared. They're nervous. You've got to make sure you're there to support them in whatever way that might be. It might be with more coaching. It might just be a phone call every few days to say, hey, how's it going? You need a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah. Right? Do you find yourself still calling the agents that aren't transacting, aren't coming to the office, and aren't showing any level of effort on their end? Do you still like reaching out to them and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, how are you? Are you still working here?
So, yes. We, and I'll be perfectly honest, I won't drop any names, but we have had those conversations, and I've actually asked people to find another place to not work, basically.
Listen, I've dropped this line several times. We started doing like all hands, quarterly meetings. I said, listen, there's plenty of brokerages out there where you don't have to do anything. Unfortunately, this isn't one of them. You got to work. Yeah. You got to work, because I want people who are in the field, in the game, knowing the market, representing the brand, because if and when I run into a client or another agent, I want there to be a tailwind like, hey, oh, I saw so and so at reference. They did a really good job at X transaction on X open house. Not like, can you believe this guy? He works at this joke firm where we're full of part timers. Like that's not what I'm looking for. I want tailwinds, not headwinds.
I think we've talked about that before. So if you're a part-time agent, I don't want you to think I'm knocking you, but that's not the culture that you've built. It's not the culture that we've built.
Yeah. There's just not a lot of space for it. Listen, if you have another job, but you like, here's the thing. Like I think Brendan checked me on this before. Like, I called myself.
I mean, you must have deserved it.
I called myself a part-time agent in like 2015, 16. But I would go to New York on Tuesday. I'd work through Thursday, Friday, and then I'd work from Friday afternoon in real estate through essentially Monday morning. And I'd probably put in 30 plus hours doing open houses, taking clients out, putting deals in contract. At the end of the day, that's 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah,
it's not part-time, right?
Right.
That was a compliment that Brendan gave me back in the day.
No, right. It's not right. There's a
I'm
difference
okay with
between
that.
part-time and having 2 careers. That's
Agreed. Right. So there's plenty of agents out there that work really, really hard, but also have a W-2 salary elsewhere.
Right.
And they have a flexible schedule, a nurse, fire department, whatever.
Yeah,
great.
That
all power
works.
to you, man.
But you gotta put the time in. You gotta show up. It's not just gonna
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Because it's not the time when the house is sold themselves, right? Like the agents, they have to go back to the basics.
Yep. Go back to the basics and
unless it's in Melrose.
Yeah. Unless it's in Melrose.
It sells itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole corridor, man, is actually it's really on fire right now.
You got the proximity to Boston, right? But you still have the somewhat suburban feel. I think it's
a great little town.
And the people of Melrose, they really like themselves a lot.
The People's Republic of Melrose.
Yeah. No, it's a great community. Right?
I don't understand Melrose. Like I drive through it and I don't.
You like it though.
The downtown's awesome. Main Street.
I agree.
Yeah, really nice. Good restaurants, shopping.
There's like one street that I've driven through and I'm like, oh, I like this area.
This is going to be like the main reel. You're going to just be like gaslit for ripping on Melrose.
I mean, Melrose is great. And I think it has a very good school system. It has train access. It has good restaurants. It doesn't feel like a community. I don't know. Like, I don't get the community aspect of it.
Depends on which side of the railroad tracks you're on.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
No,
I have to spend more time in Melrose, apparently.
This is not a pitch for Melrose.
Yeah.
But it is a good community. I mean, they do all kinds of community events, the Victorian Fair. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on.
Everybody loves it.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Everyone I know that's ever lived there or like is looking there thinks it's phenomenal.
Super loyal, yeah.
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
That's all. Like I drive through Linfield, I get Linfield. Like I drive through Wakefield, I get Wakefield.
I got to be honest with you. I would pick Melrose over Linfield.
The downtown Melrose is better than any. Well, you got Market Street. In Linfield,
yeah, but Market Street is just like it's like
it's
installed.
not a downtown. It's
installed.
A mall. Right.
It's installed. Yeah. So you could put that thing. They're going to put one right down here, man. It's not going to be like, wow, now I love this community.
Is that Suffolk Downs?
Yeah. Anyway,
a lot of good times at Suffolk Downs, by the way.
You like horses?
Yes.
All right.
Horses, yeah.
I like.
You're an equestrian.
He actually.
I'm not an equestrian, no.
Yeah. Tell me more about your equestrian lifestyle.
Yeah. We often find you at Myopia Hunt Club on a weekend.
I've never been invited to Myopia Hunt Club.
Oh,
the only reason I
love it.
The only reason I even know what that is because you tried to tell me about it recently.
Are you a member there?
No.
It is nice. I've never been, but I've heard it's
I've been to like fundraisers there. That's the only time I've ever been in.
Branding, and you told me how small their sign was.
Oh, their sign. Yeah, it's like nondescript. It's
matter.
like a little white sign with a horse on it.
Brand.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
You think brand doesn't matter?
No, I do. No, I do think brand matters. I think for them, people
they have such a good
they
brand.
have a brand,
yeah.
right?
It's like Apple. It's like Apple.
Yeah, you're not getting into myopia. Like, let's just face it. So, yeah.
I still it's yeah. You can go play polo there though.
Yes,
like highly likely.
But
I would pick Melrose and Wakefield over Linfield.
Wakefield has some awesome restaurants too downtown. Artichoke, Sabatino's.
I get Wakefield.
Public Kitchen.
Public Kitchen, very good.
Good little jam.
Tono.
Yep. Tono. Oh yeah, Tono. I forgot about Tono. Wakefield's great.
Mm-hmm. All of them are great.
Yeah.
All just lava hot real estate markets right now.
Crazy.
Bellevue Ave, is it in Melrose?
Yep.
That's really nice.
It's gorgeous.
Bellevue Golf Course right there.
Yeah.
I drove through our clients when we were trying to find something between Melrose and Wakefield and Malden and the like, and we drove through late evening through Bellevue, And we were like texting each other in separate cars. I was like, wow, I feel poor.
Yeah.
Because I don't have uplighting on my house, you know. Like,
you don't have uplighting yet?
stop. But we drove through like a different neighborhood.
I can't believe I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah. Right. I mean, our neighbor texts us and tells us that our uplighting is a little too much.
Listen, I'm working on it. Okay. There's a lot of things.
Is it coming with the landscaping?
It is not with, but in addition to.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
All right, good.
I'm working on it, you know.
I think nothing makes a house look better than uplighting.
I completely agree.
And like landscape lighting, tree lighting.
But there were so many homes in Melrose after you leave that like, they were like still multi-million-dollar homes, but they didn't have uplighting. And I was like, wow, look at these poor people over here in this part of Melrose.
Some of the old like Victorian, the doctor's houses,
they're
beautiful.
incredible.
Yeah.
There's just so many old school mansions there. I just love that type of
I'm gonna have to reinvestigate Melrose. So we went hiking in like the fells and then went to some Mexican restaurant and we drove through, and we must have driven through the wrong side of Melrose because I was like,
it's just
I'm
very
not
easy.
feeling it.
It's just very easy to drive through Melrose without getting into a neighborhood.
Yeah. Main Street, Lebanon Street.
That's it.
And then you're done.
You're gone.
Yeah.
You're in a different city.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know. It's just having spent a lot of time in those different communities just for clients. There's some really, really cool areas. All
right, I take it back. I
love Melrose.
Undecided on Melrose.
We're gonna make sure that doesn't make it to the cut.
With the take back?
You know, it's funny. One of the virtual assistants that we have that works on the podcast also uploads some of the stuff to YouTube. I don't even think Brendan knows this yet. It's very funny. Somehow the cut of Maine made it to YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
A lot of comments.
Oh, what do people say? I gotta go look.
Just calling you ignorant about. Can you imagine this guy's classifying an entire state off of a section of the highway? And
it's not a highway; it's a country road.
Well, I missed this. So I'll have to.
I'll send you the reel. Okay. He basically went on. Basically, we just sit here and we shoot the shit for an hour, and at a certain point, we both go on really good tears. Yeah. And whether or not it has anything relevant to do with anything, they end up being very comical social media cuts. Mm-hmm. And Brendan did one about how gross Maine is.
So we had just gone to Sunday River. I don't know if you've ever driven to Sunday River, but it is the ugliest drive in the world.
Yeah, I mean, well, what time of year? Yeah, winter.
Yeah, we were going skiing, and it's
fall is nice.
Well, I mean, you still have to see all the broken down cars on the front lawns. Like, it was unreal.
Once you get off the highway, it gets a little dodged. Yeah, for sure. So he was just like really passionate in his rip for a minute, and we cut it into a reel. And when it came out, I was like, dude, I don't know if we should post this. Like, someone's going to be like, you're an asshole.
I'm never running for Senate in Maine. Like, I am not getting elected for anything.
And I think it's to date one of the most controversial things we posted. It was pretty funny. So
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it was definitely good. I'll tag you in it, and we'll try and reinvigorate the
resurrect
algorithm. Yeah, that'd be good. So, but yeah, I started getting like a bunch of emails. Like someone commented on your YouTube post, and I was like, I wonder why is this thing getting a lot of action? And it was just you ripping Maine.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go look later when I'm bored. Reading the comments and get pissed.
Okay, so we're asking some people to move on from the brokerage, go to a different place, right? To kind of protect.
Let me clarify that though too. That's only if you're not showing up.
You're giving the firm the finger.
It's an effort play.
Exactly. If you're putting the time in, and I see you grind, and you show up to our meetings and our events, and you're not selling houses, that's a different story, right? I'll work with you forever, right?
Culture.
But if you're just hanging around and want to hang your license somewhere, it's not here.
Yeah. Now, question: even though because Remax is pretty heavy, like fee structure, right? Right.
Yeah.
So even though there's potential actual revenue from that person, you're still moving on from them, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that.
So the Remax fee structure, without getting to the nitty gritty of it, is we pay per month per agent. Right. So whether you, Seth, or you come sell a house with us or not, you're costing me money. So if you're not selling a house for 6 months, 12 months at a time, it costs me a lot of money. Mm-hmm. That's why you need to show an effort and you need to show that you're committed to us and this brokerage and your career.
Do the agents have to pay a portion?
We cover the fees for all of our agents. Yeah. That's one of the things that we do as a brokerage.
I just knew some firms like actually charge the agent, and so I guess what I was asking, I didn't understand. That's a really good value prop, by the way, that you're covering that on their behalf, because I was presuming that they're still paying you but not producing.
So I think I misunderstood that. So some offices do that. Each Remax office is independently owned, and operated, franchise thing, all that stuff. So everyone kind of has a different everyone has a different fee structure. We just found it best to take on producing agents that want to work, make this a career, and we pick up the fees for them, and we help them with their business. So
Well, it probably helps build the culture.
it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, I bet that's the thing too. Like you said, I was just saying culture. Like you want like-minded individuals who are contributing, not someone who is going to suck time and quite frankly money out of profit out of it.
Well, and they're a reflection of you, right? So like
No
if
doubt.
they're out in the community and they're
That's kinda what I was
representing
saying.
you and your brand, you want them to be
Yeah.
representative of what you stand for.
Right, because at the end of the day, it goes back to the broker.
Exactly.
As we were talking about off the air, the situations when something bad happens, it
Yep.
goes back to
Always.
the broker.
What
of
if that was
record.
on the air? I'm just kidding. It wasn't. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think brand really important, and you can't have those folks that, it's funny. I don't think most, we'll call them part-time agents, understand the gravity of when they go to attempt to interact or transact with somebody and they sour the firm's or office's reputation. Like that costs me money on the back end when I go to submit an offer to that person.
Cool. Right.
Like, and it's catty business, like it or not. And,
And I would assume when you're recruiting, right?
for sure.
Oh, there's, as we all know, I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is, but agents that you don't want to be part of your brokerage because it's going to unattract everybody, all the other agents, right?
Yeah.
They're a cancer, basically.
100%. Okay. So what's the cadence like you're trying to meet with agents in an attempt to help them with their business?
How often? Like,
Yeah.
what does it look
Yeah.
like? We have 3 in-person meetings a month, right?
Okay.
We talk about what's going on in the market. We do some market stats. These company, a typical company meeting, right? But then at the end of each one of those is either a mastermind or a specific training topic,
Cool.
right? So I like the masterminds because it's invaluable to hear all these other agents that are out there selling 30, 40, 50 homes a year, like what's working for them, what's not working with them. So we have at least 3 training opportunities a month. And then on top of that, we have all of the virtual training that RE/MAX offers and some of the other things that we've invested in privately that the agents have access to all the time.
Sure.
So they have at least 3.
And these are
in-person
mandatory for all your agents?
we don't make anything mandatory.
Yeah.
A, we really can't because they're not employees, and B, because I really want people to want to be there.
Yeah.
And for the most part, we get really good attendance. We do. The agents that perform show up. They see value in it. They want to know what's going on in the market. They want to know what's going on in the industry, and they want to talk to the other agents about what's working for them. And the ones that don't make a big commitment, a lot of them have not made it over the last 6
Right.
months or a year. So
Right.
Do you guys do like bonding night, like go out and drink together or like go out to dinner together? Like do you do those sort of things? Happy hours?
We do actually quarterly happy hours, and randomly we just go out for lunch sometimes too, if it's just spur of the moment type thing. We do quarterly happy hours. We do. We have a conference every year that a lot of the agents go to in Vegas. Just so happens to be in Las Vegas every year. So
Is that where you get the sneakers that say RE/MAX on them?
I do have a pair of those, but I won those actually.
In Vegas.
I think that was in Burlington or something actually. But Vegas is a great take. They have the best of the best there. They put on a great show.
Hot air balloons?
Hot air balloons. They had a Maroon 5 concert just for us this year.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. The year before it was.
That was probably terrible.
It was. I actually didn't go.
Well, of course you didn't, because it's Maroon 5.
Oh, my buddy was at some Amazon thing and they had Mumford perform
and
for
Sons?
them. Yeah.
The year before, so the last 3 years have been great. It was Maroon 5 this year. The year before was Zach Brown Band, and the year before that was Pitbull during COVID. Yeah.
Pitbull came to the Lynn Auditorium this year.
I saw
and
that,
it was
yeah.
bananas.
Did you go?
Apparently. I was skiing.
He puts on a great show.
Yeah.
Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide.
I love Pitbull. Do you serve Spindrift in the office? Because LaCroix is dead to us, and we've moved on to Spindrift,
I've
local,
heard.
delicious company. Do you serve Spindrift in the office?
We have Spindrift. We also have cold brew on tap.
Oh, tell us
yeah,
about
man.
the cold brew. I
Yeah,
want to come
yeah.
work in your office.
We
Do
have
you
cold
need
brew anytime you want.
Do you need a guy like me around?
I love cold brew. What
I
type
do
of cold
too.
brew?
It's Boston's best cold brew. I think
Is it good?
It's good. I mean, it's
Everybody listening. RE/MAX Platinum for the cold brew.
Hey.
Do you have cold brew?
Here at Reference Real Estate, we're sponsored by Nitro Bar.
Oh, we got a Nitro bar.
Do we-
Now
we
I'm
have a
torn.
Nitro bar?
Now I'm torn.
No. But have you ever been in Nitro Bar?
But we do have Nitro on tap too. It's Nitro.
Okay,
cold brew.
let's relax, man.
So, but you know what's the best part about this? I don't
Which
even drink
office?
coffee.
Melrose too?
Melrose, yeah.
Oh.
I don't drink coffee.
Well, man, you should probably
I
give
don't
it
do
a whirl.
I don't do caffeine. I used to.
How are you alive?
Yeah.
I think I'm alive because I don't do caffeine.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I I mean, I do caffeine.
I do caffeine.
I
too.
do like
like
a lot.
hard.
I mean, like I'll have a Coke now and then, but no.
I
caffeine.
order multiple coffees at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm obviously the odd one of the.
Earlier today, I got a. By the way, you should try this concoction. It's a little.
You can share it in the app.
Oh, I'll send it to you,
Okay.
man. Vanilla sweet cream cold brew, but you got to go light sweet cream.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Because it gets like
I don't
a
need it.
film on the thing.
I don't need this all
Yeah.
like.
I like the salted vanilla sweet cream.
Okay, haven't been there
Ooh.
yet, but vanilla sweet cream cold brew,
Yeah.
which by the way has a lot of calf in it already, and then I like to jazz it up with 4 or 5 shots in it.
You serious?
Oh fuck.
Is your heart just like?
I feel
Through the
great. I
chest?
feel great.
See, that was my issue. I get very shaky,
Yeah.
anxious.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just
No, I basically wither into sweet nothing if I don't have an excessive amount of caffeine. But what I am trying to do, real novel concept recently, drink water.
Spindrift water?
yeah.
No,
Spindle,
this is
great.
my second
Tap.
full hydro flask today, which I stole from my wife. And yeah, man, I mean, crazy when you just drink a little water. How you feel?
I mean, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, listen.
Water,
that's-
you're
that's
supposed
it.
to drink
You're
an
basically
excessive amount
Tom
of
Brady.
water. Yeah. But doesn't Spindrift water
That's what I
count
say.
as water?
The Tom Brady of real estate. I mean, yes, you could argue that and or LaCroix are equally as hydrating as water. However, there's something different about having 6 LaCroix and with all the bubs versus just some good old fashioned.
I find if you pour it over ice, no bubs. So at night, I crush a couple
Yeah.
over ice.
Do you ever get a little heartburn from the?
No, not from that.
No, so this might be also related to the caffeine issue, but I've just been ripping Nexium for a solid decade here. In fact, if you read the box, it says don't take this for more than 14 days. And I was about to break 14 days, so I went to the doctor, and they were like, yeah, it's okay.
Just keep going.
They checked, and they're like, you can just keep having it. So, which
In perpetuity. You are like client of the year.
I'm telling you, man, I'm surprised they aren't sponsoring us. Nexium, if you're listening today, I've been crushing that stuff since 2003, man, and it's been keeping me going. So thanks for the lack of heartburn here as I crush an ungodly amount of caffeine.
I also take something I can't pronounce. It's like in a blue bottle and it's a gummy.
That's called Zoloft.
No, it's not that. I know how to pronounce that one.
Okay.
It's like apple cider gummy.
Does it
Apple
start with
cider vinegar gummies, and then they have one for night, and it's like
Melatonin?
marijuana.
Marijuana.
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha.
Yeah.
I now can't like go to sleep without the ashwagandha.
go. It's an aphrodisiac as well.
Well, I just go to sleep. But good to know.
Yeah. Well,
We will hide that during the day.
I think I'm taking a different type of gummy at night to go to sleep or relax. But it's probably just because I'm so over caffeinated
Yeah.
I can't fall
Just gotta
asleep.
get
Eat down
balance
as for your
yourself.
uppers.
Yeah.
Just got to regulate.
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
That's right. Uppers, downers. What were they called? They started with the L.
The Quaaludes.
Quaaludes.
Yeah. We haven't.
They look like there was a lot of fun happening.
I haven't.
I mean, I wish I was around in the 80s.
That's like the type of culture I really want. Just a corrupt corporate culture here where everyone's just really foaming at the mouth on Quaaludes.
Midget throwing potentially.
Yeah. There you go. They're called small people now.
I apologize.
Yes.
I meant no offense
We're
to the small.
We're gonna
people.
make that into a reel.
Oh, geez.
Slander the hell out of
100%.
Remax.
No, we're
I'll
not
be
going to
out
slander
of business
Remax.
tomorrow.
Because Remax offers
Local real estate
nitro
broker
cold
Scotty
brew.
Jones.
I have a lot of respect for small people.
I mean, I feel like we have to go to this Melrose office and check out the cold brew.
Yeah. Well,
When I do my drive through Melrose, I'm
Yes.
stopping by and getting the cold brew.
419
Yeah.
Main Street.
All right,
You're right.
I'll be there.
You're right on the main drag.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right by Cafe Nero and Starbucks.
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
Are you Are you like right on the corner?
It was the old. No, I'm sorry. It was right next to the old Papagino's building.
That doesn't help me.
It's kind of the corner of Grove Street and Main Street.
So if you're at Kelly's Roast Beef and you drive straight, do you get there?
No,
Okay.
no.
Is that the Fells way?
Yeah.
That is the Fells Way.
That's
So
not-
if you
that's not how
drove
it works.
straight down into Melrose, you'd come take a left onto Main Street.
I didn't know that.
I think
I thought that
if you
I've been in the wrong part of Melrose,
Yes.
clearly, because
If
I've
you
been over
skip-
like by the high school, like up towards Woburn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. You're
if you skip
Yeah, that's the
that
wrong
exit,
part.
you
Okay.
you drive past Kelly's Roast Beef.
And you go by the square one
You go by the square.
by
Rest in peace.
Hammersmith
Which
Farm.
Rest in
how
spe-
is the Square One mall still open? Like
Best Buy, more than likely, is probably the only thing keeping that place afloat.
That's a
Dick's.
big. I mean, that's a
Are they there?
huge piece.
I
of
think
property.
Dick's is in the back,
there,
yeah.
I think I wanted to make a joke about that, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean,
going
there's
to.
so many.
I think that place needs to be demolished.
100%.
Sorry, folks. And either a Market Street comparable. I mean, I know it's very close to actual Enfield's Market Street already, but like just make like the outdoor shopping plaza, right? So like that's what people want.
You remember we live in the New England, right? Like
Yeah, but
outdoor isn't awesome in December.
Okay, so outdoor might not be the right descriptor. Like what they did at Hilltop.
Yeah.
You know, just like a little bit of strip, a little bit of restaurant, a little bit of resi,
living, yep.
right? We're in a housing crisis here. Let's take that and just put a city over it, and it's probably going to be fine.
They're doing that at Kowloon.
That's right.
Yeah, they're tearing the Kowloon down. They're going to put another Kowloon in the first floor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is smart.
never going to be the same, unfortunately, as the
So
You like a Saga swing?
I like the Saga swings. Had a lot of after school like parties and stuff there.
Prom,
at Kowloon.
probably.
Quaaludes?
No,
Do you
prom
remember
was
Quaaludes?
Quaaludes? We're back on Quaaludes.
Quaaludes.
I
remember. Yeah.
On the hill.
Good
yeah.
karaoke. Up there.
I remember that place. And what is going on with that real estate? I mean, someone tore it down.
It was
Yeah.
the Bank of China owned it at one point. I don't know who or what has since then, but that was.
I mean, it's got to be a fairly sizable plot.
Huge,
and like,
huge.
how is there just like an auto body shop there or something
It's
to
like
this
a
day?
tow truck.
Yeah, it's
yard,
like,
yeah.
I mean,
Seems like the highest and best use.
which like if I had a tow truck company, I may be going closer to the Fellsway where I can get north or south.
right.
And this is not super hell. I mean,
well,
I guess
isn't it
so.
right? Oh, it's on the other side. No, it's right by an exit.
Yeah, you got to
It
go
is.
I
Get
guess,
off
a little bit further up.
Yeah, it's
By the high
closest
school.
one is Essex Street, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wayloos. Never made it in there while it was open.
Oh, we used to go there.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
They had karaoke. That was a big karaoke bar.
That place was huge.
It was so big. So
Yeah.
one of the things, not to get off of Quaaludes
Could talk Chinese restaurants
all,
all day.
all night long.
I'm thinking of the title: Wayloos, Quaaludes, and Kowloon.
I mean, yes. If there were a poll, I would vote yes.
I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah.
And I would try all three.
Yeah, at the same time. But it would also probably require an acid flashback to get to Wayloos,
Yeah.
considering that it is now ripped down.
Yes.
I'm sure you could find it on YouTube and maybe experience it in 3D somehow.
Because it was abandoned for a while, too.
A long time.
Do you remember when it became Orchid Nightclub for a while?
No.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Orchid
I don't. I
Nightclub.
didn't remember the name of it, but I'm glad you
Orchid
just brought
Nightclub,
that.
Yeah. There was a lot of
It was.
shootings.
It was.
and
It was
stuff
when
going on.
it was like between them and Vision.
Yes.
Right.
Vision,
Yeah. And one of my friends was somehow DJing and also bouncing at the same time at Vision. And then
That's
someone
awful.
tried to kill everybody, and I was like, hey, maybe just
Maybe
like,
you should focus on one or the other.
just maybe
Like,
get a real job.
Yeah. You
know.
could do that.
Yeah.
And then we also had the Palace, obviously. That was great.
The
with
Palace.
BBC. The 16 and
Never-
up nightclub. Never went there?
Never made it.
Wasn't Billy Costa a big fan of the Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the DJs.
Yeah.
It was a big place. But yes, it was the Bahama Beach Club was 16 and up. I mean, that's not a disaster waiting
See,
to happen.
What could go wrong?
But you were mixed in with
Yeah.
older people too, like 21. It was a
Remember when you asked if you should prepare anything?
Do you feel like you were
Yes,
gypped
I'm
of the opportunity
totally
now?
prepared
Oh,
now.
good.
Yeah. I mean, wow. It's always interesting to me how we went from a professional conversation to
The
if you
BBC.
it was about real estate office, caffeine on tap. I don't drink coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. Quaaludes. And then somehow Quaaludes went to Wayloos.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just easily
I think-
misunderstood.
I think we should timeline one of these events and break it down. It would be really, really something.
Yeah, we could get on that.
So you were going to reel us back in.
I was going to reel us
Reel
back
us in.
in. So Seth and I were talking this morning about just offers in general and sort of what's going on in the market and what we're seeing in the market, and that, when buyers are shopping, they start off with lots of requirements and lots of rules
Hopes and dreams.
and hopes and dreams, and they are
then we crush
beaten out of them and crushed very quickly. And then they get to, all right, I'll waive my mortgage commitment. I will waive that. I will escalate. I will do all the things I swore I would never do. It's like college, right?
Yeah.
When you got to college, you were never going to black out. Never going to do any of these things. And then all of a sudden,
Here we are off track
there
again.
you are.
One of the reasons I was asked to leave college.
We got to get back to
blackouts,
that.
How many years did you make it?
If you count the time I went to
1.5.
one and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have we already talked about this?
Me and you?
Yeah.
Probably we may have.
Yeah.
Over drinks, probably.
Yeah, probably. Continue.
Sorry.
You were
So they
you were
have their
blacked out in college.
hopes and dreams busted. They get into this situation where finally they realize that the only way they're going to get anything is to just give up everything and keep bidding up from their original price range probably. So with that, how are you talking to your agents to talk to their buyers about going from, day one to accepted offer and what that evolution of the buyer relationship looks like? Because it's super interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because I could get brought in once the offer is accepted, right? So I missed that whole
You missed the 25
evolution.
that they didn't get
Correct.
accepted on. So that's huge, right? So I think there's a lot of things that you have to do as a real estate agent to gain that trust from your client to take them from 500,000 to up to 600,000 now with an escalation up to 650, right? They need to trust that you're doing the right thing by them. And I think the only way to do that is through communication, right? Staying in steady communication with your client and not just relying on the MLS to send them the property alerts, right? You need to stay in touch with those active clients on at least 2 or 3 times a week, speaking to them on the phone through text message so that you can create that relationship, right? Second thing is you need to be totally up to speed on what is going on in the markets they're looking at, like the average sale price, how many days on market homes are sitting, how much over asking they're going. You need to have all of that knowledge so that you can speak to them as an expert and they're going to trust you. It's all about the trust, right? If your client trusts you 100% and they need the funds and the wherewithal to be able to afford the home, you're going to have a much better likelihood of success when you ask them or when you tell them, here's what I think you need to do to get this home. And it's everything you just said: go over asking, waive mortgage, waive commitment, waive, the rights to your firstborn child, whatever you got to do. Right. They're going to be a lot more apt to trust you if you're doing those other things.
What do you think the best way to stay up to date with that local market when you're not supposed to really reveal? The market's been moving really fast, right? So in January, you'd have your pick of the litter, right? It didn't write any offer at below asking, inspection didn't matter.
How weird was January and February?
February, kind of the same.
Felt like everything was on sale.
Yeah.
Like
tail end of February, a little bit of change. Next thing you know, it was like someone sounded the alarm. Paul Revere ran across and just turned on the spring market or something, right? And it was multiple offers. And so for me, for instance, in Melrose surrounding communities, we were, writing over asking, but we weren't writing old school Melrose over asking, right? We were 50, 60, 70, 80. Hey, we should be pretty good. And nope, multiple hundreds of thousands clean over asking, right? And so when the listing agent isn't going to give you the feedback, right, which is happening again, it's I literally put an offer in on something yesterday for a client for a new deadline, and I woke up when Walker was screaming at 2 a.m. I looked at my phone. I had a text at 11:30 from an agent. Hey, sorry, we went with a different offer.
That's just
not helpful.
On a clean offer with an escalation with no cap. You can't give me a call, dude.
What was your response? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I went back to bed after I literally I was like, cool, man. Thanks for letting me know in a text at midnight.
Right.
And I had to pry some info out this morning, but the question is, right, when the data's so lagging, what do you think an agent should do in effort to stay the most up to date? Because by the time that client comes to and responds with whatever, sometimes it's too late and they lost 20, 30, 40, 50 grand in purchasing power, whether that be because of rates or because the market's run up so fast.
Right.
So it's hard, right?
Yeah.
And sure, at least I'm in the game and I got my pulse on it, but I still don't know the number, right?
I don't. Right. So I think I don't have a definitive answer for you. And say,
I wish you did.
Do this one thing, right? I had a conversation today with one of my agents before I left Bridgewater to head here. They had a number. Their listing appointment. They had a number based on comps. They went with the sellers went with a different agent
who made up a number.
Made up a number, and it went under contract first weekend.
Yeah,
that's a kick in the what, right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how you keep up with it other than creating those good relationships with your co-brokes, right?
Yeah.
And hoping that it's another professional agent that has these listings. outside of that, you just got to you got to look at the data. You got to look at the data that you have, right? Look back at the data.
Yeah.
Look at days on market, right? Because if homes are listed at 700 and they're under agreement the next day, probably went over asking. Right?
Yep.
So I mean,
safe assumption.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When you're doing your masterminds with your brokerage, are these things that you're talking about, or is that a good opportunity to really have like a let's share what we can about what's going on in the market? And is this why, some of the bigger brands, right? Like they'll have hyper local offices where the people really focus on like one or two towns,
right?
Right? Like, are they able to, do that in a more local setting and really like hyper focus?
So we hyper focus on the 3 towns that we're in.
Yeah.
So at each one of our meetings, I have a breakdown of the year over year data and year over 30-day data, basically, for each one of those communities that we're in. So days on market, average sale price, list price to sale price, all the important data, right? So we do dive into those local markets. After that, when we break into the masterminds, I mean, the last few years, it's a lot of the topic has been how do you get a friggin' offer accepted, right? That's what we talk about a lot. But yeah, we do talk about other things like that. It's the masterminds are why I really like them. They're agent driven. Yeah. It's what they're seeing. They're the boots on the ground, right? Like I'm not, like Seth said, I'm not really in that day-to-day game anymore. But we have some really high producing agents that are, and they got their finger on the pulse, and it's really cool to see the conversations that happen. And then, we have group texts and Facebook messengers and all that stuff. And just sometimes you'll see someone get an offer accepted using someone else's strategy, and it's a win-win for the whole.
Yeah, it's cool.
So
that is cool.
Yeah.
And it must be rewarding for the newer folks or the folks that aren't producing at the same level to have a very organic conversation in a non-threatening way with these people that they might not otherwise have the ability to have that conversation in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that you host or the agents host?
The masterminds?
No, the like the review of the towns that you cover.
I host that. Yeah. I do that part of
in
it.
each office.
In each office.
Yep. Yeah.
Brendan, I got a question for you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Please let him talk.
I've heard but I've heard lately that sellers and buyers are now going back to the agents and starting some lawsuits because of waived inspections. Have you seen?
I haven't seen any of those yet, but I would assume that they're coming at some point. When we haven't really had a lot of time for things to go wrong. Massive things go wrong, like, oh my God, the house is falling down, sort of stuff. But I don't know that the law requires that a buyer get an inspection. And I don't think there's a duty on an agent to require that their buyers get an inspection. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch that litigation play out and what duties are imposed on agents and how that changes the calculus in a hot market.
And what about because we one of the policies that we do have is we don't have no lawsuits.
Good.
Knock on wood. Now that you said that, but no, we do have a policy that if the client waives the inspection, we have a home inspection waiver document.
We do the realtor one.
Yes,
and we also send the whole packet on home inspection.
Yes, the facts for consumers and all that.
Yeah, so internally we make you sign facts for consumers on that, the lead pamphlet, the super long one.
Oh yeah,
and then the waiver. 100%. And I'm not going to circulate it in my offer likely, but I'll keep it internally.
Yeah. I think it's a good practice considering what's been going on in the last few years.
Agreed. And I do think if you can get away with it, informational purposes only inspection or some sort of, just general understanding of what the heck's you're getting into. And I know there's probably, as a seller, you probably hate an informational only, and you don't trust a mortgage denial after a informational only inspection, and it goes on and on. But as the attorney representing the buyer, I want as much as possible, right? Like all these offers that are coming in freak me out because now the buyer walks in, their deposit's not protected, like there's nothing left for me to hang my hat on to get them out of the deal if it goes sideways to get their deposit back, right? So
I think it's interesting though and I don't know any of the specifics of the lawsuits. I honestly haven't heard of them yet. So, but take the client for instance that has written a decent offer but has an inspection and loses, writes a better offer. You know, they did a pre-inspection, they still lose, right? They start waiving more and more, going higher and higher, and they're still losing. Like, how can the consumer, like, if, you know, finally obtain the home, knowing that, like, that's what it took? They didn't win before, and then turn around and blast the realtor. It's tough. It's tough.
It is. I agree. I think it's a ridiculous thing, but I mean, it's America. I mean, people get sued for everything.
But it comes down to what your duties and obligations
Right.
are, right? So, like, if you've explained that they have the right to have this, that they have reviewed what their rights are, and they decide to waive them to move forward, like, I don't know that the liability falls on you as the agent or the broker owner. You know, the law can't impose things that a consumer under knowingly and with some education is waiving, right? Like, you can't then say, like, I take it back, even though I knew what I was doing, I didn't know what I was doing, right? Like, that's not.
I think that
a logical
the
argument.
allegation is that they were coached and not under, like, they were coached
They
that
didn't
they had to waive the inspection. They didn't understand that they had the right to the inspection, which I mean,
Which
But
you
they
would-
signed a waiver that says they understood they had the right to waive.
I don't know if the
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would keep having your
Yeah.
your
Right.
agents work with your buyers and explaining it. So, you know, one of the things that I've started doing is when I send out a P&S, I'm doing like a little video going over what it is.
Love that.
So that I have a
Is it a
record.
Bonbon video?
It's called Loom, so it actually shows the contract, and then I talk through
even
the
cooler.
contract and go like line, but it saves it on Loom servers, and I can see when they read it and that they read it. So if anyone ever tried to sue me and say I didn't explain the contract, I now have proof that I have and that they watched it.
Right.
So I think you could do a comparable thing with the waiver, especially if you're worried about the inspection.
Yeah.
You could sort of just have the agent go over, send them, you know, here's the inspection waiver, here's where you have to tell, you know, and then you have this record that A, you sent it, and B, that you've explained it and that they watched it.
It's tough, right? Because, like, it's a great idea.
Right.
But the reality is, you know
No
what?
one's going to do it.
There's a fucking waiver. There's a waiver. You've read this. You've acknowledged now that I told you here's a whole pamphlet on home inspections and you should get one. And unfortunately, we're now waiving all of your rights.
Right.
And so the fact that I would have to even consider covering the waiver or covering the pamphlet again, you know, like at some point,
it's
where's
boots and suspenders, I realize, but that's
where's
my
the
job.
onus on the consumer to be an adult?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you, Seth, 110%. But I also understand
I
it,
know,
too, 'cause
I know.
I mean, we live in a
Yeah,
world.
I think too, like, and you and I both know this, and so do you, I guess. But there's just a lot of realtors out there that literally know nothing.
Nothing.
And so the realtor that knows nothing, that coaches you to waive your home inspection, which they're obviously not supposed to do. There's a difference between coaching and saying, "Hey, listen, we've lost before.
Right.
It's up to you guys. Here's the data. I've shown you this house has a brand new roof. It has a brand new heating system. The foundation has a crack that's been repaired. Here's the crack X document. Here's the disclosure. I think we're okay here. It's up to you."
Well, that's what, in my opinion, a
good
good agent
agent.
walks through. That they look at the furnace, they look at
I
the
know.
water heater, they look at the roof. Like, you don't need. I'm not poo-pooing home inspections, but you don't need a home inspection to look at a few,
let's
certain
poo-poo
things.
the home inspectors for a minute.
Okay,
Because
let's-
you know what? I resisted.
Here we go.
But home inspectors blow up deals more than they help
Correct.
deals, right? Like, I feel like home inspectors, if you get an over-the-top home inspector and a new buyer who is a first-time buyer and doesn't understand that we're in New England where everything's old, that there are going to be things that are wrong with these houses, and they are alarmist, and they send these 57-page reports about everything that could possibly be wrong with it ever, not like tomorrow, not in 10 years, but like ever.
Yeah.
And it sends people running, and you know, there's never going to be the perfect home. I think a good home inspector, you know, takes the time to talk through with the client that, like,
I completely
you know,
agree.
this is your refrigerator has a life cycle of 6 more years. It's probably going to last 10, but I can't say that. Right? Like, don't get scared. Like, this is in the, you know, sort of totality of the circumstances. The house is good. But instead, I feel like some of these home inspectors just come in and they want to alarm everybody, tell you every little thing that could ever
Yeah, they're like,
possibly
they're
go
God.
wrong.
I mean,
And the buyers are running.
I mean, home inspections just in the 15 years that I've done it have changed so drastically. I mean, they check every plug now.
Right.
It's like you're buying, like you said, you're buying a house that was built in 1960 for 70 cents on the dollar, because if it was brand new, it would be $1 million. And
Right.
Yeah. It's
So home inspectors, like, do your job, but don't kill the
and
deal.
there are some good ones. We have some good ones, but don't kill
I mean, you
you,
must
uh,
know the ones that they show up at your listing and you're like, oh shit, we better call the backup offer.
Exactly. I'm gonna get on the phone right now with the last buyers.
Yeah, I like. There's a couple we use. Mayflower Home Inspection I use
They're
a
good.
lot.
Yep.
I specifically because you can schedule online, which
Huge.
is what. Wow, this is amazing, right? So, I also like Indian Rock.
Use them.
So he's
Are
just
they-
Are
like,
they in
Saugus?
Saugus? Because that's a street in Saugus
No.
off Walnut Street.
That's-
so no,
asking the same
his name's
question.
Brett. He's like a one man band. Like he's so Brett, what's up? It's been a minute. I haven't gotten a home inspection. In
I
a
feel
minute.
like we need Brett on the podcast so we can.
Brett's great. He'd be a great guest actually. So Brett, hey, if
I'll
you're
save my
if
opinions,
you're
Brett.
listening, hit us up. We'd love to have on your
Come
pod.
defend yourself, Brett.
Yeah.
In your industry.
No, he's great because the way I describe him to clients is like he's like your dad, but not like the dad who blows up the deal. He's like, hey, let me show you. This is easy to fix. He used to be a custom home builder. And so he's like, hey, this post on this porch is rotted out. It's actually really easy to fix. All you need to do is have someone come in, pour new footing, boom, boom. I can't tell you how much it's going to cost. I've seen other people do it for $2,500. So I'm sure Seth has some great contractors.
That
blah, blah,
sounds reasonable.
like
Right.
versus
Right?
like, oh my gosh, this is you say nothing, you poke at, hey, it's rotted, you might want to get this looked at, and then it's like hazard report, and it's in the inspection, and then someone
Which is
sits there.
important to know. Like, I don't want to discount the fact that people need to know what they're getting into, but there's a way to do it, and there's a way to lay it out, and there's a way to talk to buyers. And I don't know if that's the agent's job or the home inspector's job.
I think it's
but
both. I think
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
both.
Because a good agent can kind of corral the home inspector
Yeah.
and say, hey, look, man, we've got buyers here. This first one they've ever owned.
Right.
I'm not telling you to not do your job, but please explain these things to them
Yeah.
in regular people terms.
I think even better, a good agent called out, hey guys, this post rotted. What a home inspector is going to tell you is this needs to be replaced. Hire a licensed contractor, get a couple of quotes. Probably going to be expensive because it doesn't look like it has a footing. I've seen other clients do this job for less than 10 grand. Just know that it's going to come up, right? Or know the furnace is from 1982 and it's at quote unquote the end of its useful life or fully depreciated. And then when the home inspector comes in and calls out those 2-3 things, the client's like, man, you nailed this. Like, I feel really good. Like there's more trust, there's more communication now than there was before. But when you don't have that person who picks on everything or like overwhelms every outlet that's miswired, which by the way, there's one in every house.
Right.
I understand that can be super overwhelming. So,
And like the real bad shit is hidden anyway, right? Like they're never going to find that the previous buyer, when they renovated the kitchen and opened the house up, didn't put support beams in, right? Like they're never going to know that.
Right. So,
Seth, what do you think about this impending lawsuit for
Buyers.
Commissions?
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's funny. We didn't even talk about this. So,
I don't know how much time we have left, but I figured.
no, we have plenty of time.
All the time in the world. For
Yeah, we get
this
another
topic.
10, 15 minutes. So we actually talked about this yesterday
We
briefly.
did.
So I'll tell you what. I don't know if I have an opinion. No, I do. It's bullshit. I think it's terrible that there's a class action lawsuit in multi-state. So if you don't know, I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast before.
We have not.
So if you don't know what Scotty's referring to, I don't even know the specific states, but it's like mid-coast, not mid-coast,
Mid-country.
mid-America.
I think like Illinois
Yeah,
potentially
like
started
Missouri
somewhere,
area,
yeah.
right? So there's 3, 4, 5 states. There's 4 big brokerages involved, and there's and
Remax is one of them.
Keller Williams, I believe.
Caldwell Banker.
Okay, probably I don't know, someone else that'll go unnamed.
21 probably.
2, I think national MLSs are involved. And essentially, there was a lawsuit that was filed and just allowed to be class action. And it's basically saying that sellers should not pay buyer agent commission. That's the one you're referring to, right?
That is the one. Yes.
Which is interesting because
Who should?
well, hold on. We're gonna get to that in a minute here.
This is gonna be juicy.
Thank you.
I have a lot of opinions. Surprise.
Oh, yeah, I bet Scotty does.
First off, I don't know what listing contract you use, but we use the one that very specifically calls out total compensation and then specifically buyer compensation. So there's a total comp. There's a specific part of that is buyer comp.
Yes, exactly.
And then some people do variable rate. Some people write stuff in, and a lot of people write in a variable rate commission structure. Hey, if you go direct, maybe you shave off a point. I don't personally do that a lot of the times, but I have in the past, right? So And here we're not the cheapest firm. Like I charge a premium because we provide additional services, and therefore
you should.
The seller side usually takes the lion's share because there's more marketing costs versus like a buyer agent. We're sure there's time and gas and I don't know, whatever time, I guess.
What's
allocated.
this race to the bottom?
You have the product. You're selling the product. You set the price.
Right.
In
so
my opinion,
that's historically
agreed.
So this lawsuit basically says that it's not lawful or misleading to make the seller pay the someone else on the transaction whose job it is to negotiate a hypothetical better deal. Okay.
But
so
technically,
go ahead.
Aren't they paying you and you're paying the
Yes.
buyer's broker? So they're not even doing it. They're just paying you.
Yes, but it comes from the seller's pocket.
Yeah.
But I think listen, I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. I think it's interesting, and I think that the alternative is you don't offer compensation, right? And therefore you attract less people. So I don't see
and that was the genesis of this whole thing, is because what one of the claims is that, let's say you're paying one firm 6%, and the other firm you were going to pay 5%, but they're only going to give out each one is going to give out half of that.
Yeah.
They're claiming that more buyers agents are going to go to the one that's offering more money.
Yeah.
So
listen, let's just be real. I personally have never steered someone towards a listing that offers higher comp. By the way, when my client says I want to go look at 123 Main Street, one of the first things I look at is the comp, right? I go, okay, cool, 2.5, right? And I think, listen, the city is always offering 2.5 or whatever, right? Like in some instances last year when the market shifted, I started paying co-brokes 3 because like I wanted to move the listing, right? And so that was a good strategy to use. But so again, it sounds like you know a little bit more about it than I do. This is what I can tell you. I don't necessarily agree. And I think that today how buyer agents sign and onboard buyers is probably a little misleading. I think I can get behind that, where they say, or we say, hey, listen, my services are free to you, right? You don't have to pay me. The seller pays me, right?
That is definitely an issue.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not,
right?
yes.
So what we've already started huddling on and building the muscle on.
Purchase price.
Say it again?
Because they're paying the purchase price, which
It's
ultimately
factored
pays the
in,
seller.
right.
Yeah. So what we've already started to huddle on is when that agency disclosure hypothetically is modified, and you have to put more of like the buyer exclusive language in the contract of X% is what I charge. Now the seller is paying that, to be clear. I think you're going to get a lot of pushback if you're so basically today, if instead of the agency disclosure in the driveway, you're doing an exclusive agency contract, I think your execution rate is not good.
Do you use those at all? Do you sign buyer agency contracts?
Exclusive agency contracts. We started to.
I think it's a good practice because of this as well.
We're aligned. We talk, and you want to get a word in, right?
I want to ask a dumb question. So if the seller isn't going to pay the buyer's commission, the seller's not going to get a discount on their current fee. Where do they think the buyer is going to come up with the money to pay for the commission?
Well, so I think that's one of the huge. There's a lot of problems with this, right? But that's one of the huge problems is buyers can barely afford the homes they're buying now. Now they're going to have to come up with another 2%.
There's also some very specific loan restrictions in VA loans that forbid a fee like that. So now you're basically saying veterans can't buy homes, or they have to go direct to the listing agent,
right, and have no representation.
That's a bigger
that
issue.
Seems collusive.
Right. So there's going to have to be some definite regulation, or
again, this could be a 3-hour conversation.
I love it.
In my opinion, right, if they're going to do this, if they're going to do away with sellers paying the full,
which they won't,
which I don't think they will either. But if they do, there also has to be regulation that now buyers have to use a licensed professional, and there is no dual agency.
Interesting.
Yet, who's going to pay for that?
It's gonna.
So this is where the law screws everything up,
because then they're gonna have to change lending regulations to be allowed to roll in that 2% into the mortgage, which we've already started looking into on the mortgage side, because who knows if this is going to happen or not. It's going to open up a whole bag of worms and really mess up the industry.
So
the likelihood that any of the judges hearing these class action lawsuits have ever been involved in the conveyancing of real estate or been a real estate agent is minimal. So it's going to be this theoretical exercise by a bunch of people that have zero experience with the buying and selling of real estate that in a vacuum make a decision that will make it less affordable for people to buy houses, right? Like if they go and try to make a change here and do away with this, essentially the seller's agent paying the buyer's agent commission, I think no one's going to reduce their commission. Like, are you going to cut your commission on a sell?
I mean, I probably don't need to charge the rate that I was charging because I'm not going to. Right. I'm not going to be the guy who charges 6% and keeps all 6 and then let someone walk. I mean, I would, but and then walk in the door and then have to go direct. I think, right? So, listen, I think what ultimately will happen is the agency disclosure will get modified, and you'll just have to say, "Hey, I'm a realtor, I'm an agent, whatever. This is not a contract. By the way, when you sign this with me, the way I get paid is by the seller, and it's this." And if I want to charge more, you have to pay for it. I think it'll be something like that.
Yeah.
And what we're doing here at Reference,
not a key to affordability.
No, I completely agree. But what we're doing here is like, say that happens tomorrow, and like, dude, how many realtors do you know that are going to leave the business? Like, think of this whole Zillow Flex concept, right. Zillow leads, Realtor.com leads, anybody with leads that are like this affiliate program, like that just doesn't work anymore. No, so many businesses fail when that happens. So what we're doing, we're actually creating a buyer promise. We're going through, just like you have a listing pitch. We have a buyer pitch, a buyer onboarding, a buyer consultation. We're going to take you through it. And at the end of it, we're going to explain to you, hey, we need to be exclusive with you, right? Just the same way as I would have a listing. And this is what I charge, by the way. And it's 3%. Okay. And let me break down how that gets paid. Most of it comes from the seller. So luckily our services are a little bit cheaper. In the unlikely event that it's more than 2.5 or 2, this is what we call closing costs. Okay. Right. And if we can sign,
you add attorney's fees into that?
and we're going to have to sign exclusive buyers and we're going to discuss what that relationship looks like. And I think that if we listen, even if we're not charging a premium, maybe it's just 2%, whatever, right? We're going to be the firm that has the muscle built. So when it flips, no skin off my back, man. And I think that, by the way, it feels really sleazy to be a buyer, be dark on the process, and then literally have to walk in open houses blind and trust someone who has agency elsewhere and then have to pay out of pocket for real representation. So I think that if onboarded properly, we'll have a lot of success in that and we'll be the firm that's maybe left operating or people want to flock to.
I think you're spot on because something's going to change. Whether the lawsuit wins or not, something will change, and it's probably going to be some sort of disclosure.
Think about that, the part-time agent who ain't paying attention when all of a sudden they go to show Brendan a home and there's no buyer comp. Like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
They're going to go to their broker and say, what do I do now?
Yeah, I'm like, man, you should have been here. We've been at 9 different trainings last month talking about this.
Right.
So,
those new forms you saw on the loops, and maybe you should have read them.
Yeah. So listen, I think it'll be interesting. I think it ultimately will come down to disclosure. And I personally, and we talked about this yesterday too, like really what consumer who's selling is going to be like, I watched this class action lawsuit. I don't want to pay buyer comp. The 2 to 3 clients that do that to me a year, I say, hey, Scotty, this was fun. I really want to list your house. Unfortunately, it's not worth my time or reputation to not pay a buyer's agent. We have to do it. We don't want to disincentivize buyers from coming to our property. Would you? Yeah, of course not. So let's pay the freaking buyer. OPS, we all know the stats on for sale by owner. They sell for like 13, 14% less. There's math here that backs it all. So, and
how about all the equity you just gained over the last 3 years? In your house?
Let's relax.
You're going to fight me over 2%? Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm passionate about it because it has the ability to change a lot of people's livelihood in this business.
I mean, if it goes through the way the
narrative is.
What's the word for the not the defendant, the other one? You're the attorney.
Plaintiff.
The plaintiff. Yeah. If it goes through for the plaintiffs, it changes the industry.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
So,
yeah. For the worse.
Right. For the consumer as well.
Yeah.
It's not like
the consumer's the one that's going to end up getting in a worse position. Be in a worse position.
Yeah. I can't imagine being a first-time buyer and have to just waltz into an open house and try and find the listing agent and trust I'm getting the best deal. I'm going to get taken advantage of 100%.
You very.
And I
well
agree
may.
with you. I've never done a dual agency deal that was good.
It doesn't work. Dual agency, in my opinion, doesn't work. That should be outlawed anyway, and it is in a lot of states.
Yeah,
we're one of the few states that.
There's only how many are there?
I don't know off the top of my head, but not a lot. We're in the minority.
Probably 11, like the attorney states.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I encourage the agents to not do it. There's a way that you can represent just the seller and have the buyer make an offer, and they're just unrepresented. If you want to do it that way, but
yeah.
Will you allow 2 agents in your office to one have the buyer, one have the seller?
Yes.
Yeah.
I will.
Do you call that dual agency?
I do not call that because we're designated.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you go designated agency. I'm the only person. Nobody else at this office is working with you.
Correct.
And so therefore, if someone else in the office writes an offer, it's not dual agency.
Correct.
What if they're on the same team?
The teams don't. Yeah. If they're so when the teams sign their listing agreements as designated agency with both team members listed on the listing agreements.
So if there's a team of 5.
I don't have any teams of 5 to worry about that.
You know what's funny? I've never asked this question to and gotten the same answer. It's very interesting to me.
I would think the team is the team, right? So it's like a real estate firm isn't a firm in like the law firm, but in a law firm, you're not supposed to. If one person represents a client, everybody is conflicted from anything having to do
it's not
adverse to that client.
That's not what we do, though.
Yeah. I know it's not what you do, but it's like the team. If the team represents the seller, someone on a different team or a different person in the brokerage should represent the buyer.
Well, so again, on the listing contract that we use, I forget the specific form, but it's a listing contract with a designated agent with consent to dual agency.
So we actually sign the same one. I just recommend that you
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
I mean, it just
better
gets
ways to do it.
sticky when like things go sideways, right? Like if you're all rowing in the same direction and you're, who is your loyalty to when things go wrong?
Yeah. I've told clients the only way this ends up in dual agency is like literally if I have a client who I have exclusive agency or a predated actual agency disclosure, that's where we may end up in dual agency. And if I have a buyer who wants to buy your house, are you okay with it?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to have to agree to this.
And I agree with that because if you're just sitting at an open house and you've had this relationship with
It's not dual agency. Yeah.
And some random person walks off the street, how can you possibly treat them fairly?
And anybody who's tried that, it blows up in their face.
Yeah. Yes.
That's when like, hey, do me a favor. Scotty works in my office. I want you to talk to him. He can make an offer, and I want you to have the proper guidance.
Yeah. And you get the referral from
Yeah,
them.
and maybe I'll be like, hey, Scotty, your offer's a little low. I don't know. It helps my seller.
You
If I
said
do
it.
that, maybe,
Not
right?
me.
So, and listen, I think that's okay. But yeah, it's funny. Like someone recently tried to tell me that anybody in the same office is dual agency,
I disagree.
and I was like, I don't.
Depends on I think if you sign the listing agreement as a, I'm on a blank on the
the
name
whole
of it.
firm.
It's there is a is it exclusive agency maybe?
I know what you're talking about. It's like
get
non-designated
those.
where the
Yes.
whole firm represents you.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
But doesn't all this just boil back down to be a good agent, right?
Yeah,
like
be
if you're
good
being
human.
a good agent and you're, representing
said
your
than
client.
done. Unfortunately, there's too many,
Bad.
especially right now. I think you're going to see a lot of people who are jonesing for a buck. And I unfortunately think that they'll probably forego their fiduciary responsibility and effort to just make some money, make ends meet right now.
Concur with that assessment.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
when you
seeing
get
it.
desperate is when things go bad.
Yeah.
And you start making decisions for your profit versus your client's
Yeah.
best interest.
And I think there's a lot of desperate agents right now.
Yeah,
Based on-
I agree.
And it sucks, right? Because no one wants to see desperate agents, but at the same time, they do have a duty to these clients, and you can't worry about the commission.
Well, even more
to
so
your
of a
client's
reason,
detriment.
even more so of a reason to interview multiple agents,
Yeah.
whether you're
Yeah.
a buyer or a seller, and pick the one who's most prepared and fits you best, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, and I'm sure you guys seeing this too. A lot of people asking to cut commissions across the board right now because they think, especially as the market's heated up, hey, I'm sure you're just going to list it and it's going to sell really fast, right? So, well, that's great. I'm not over here jonesing for a buck. I'm trying to do what's right and uphold a brand and a certain marketing tactic because it's not about this listing; it's about the next 10, right?
And agreed. And just because I can get you an accepted offer doesn't mean anybody can get it across the finish line. There's a million and one things that can go wrong between that accepted offer and the closing table.
Well, and how much of those accepted offers are based on the relationships that you've spent 15
years
years in the
cultivating.
business building, right? That
That's
need
true.
to be compensated.
Totally.
That's true.
It's like when a buyer or seller looks at us and says, like, you just filled out the purchase and sale agreement, like, you know, you just filled in a couple spots. It's like, no, we spent our careers
Becoming an
honing
expert.
this and being an expert and being able to negotiate these, right? Like, it's not
Getting to
not
this
the same.
point.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Well, very spirited debate.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how fast there's a result.
Yeah, me too. I'm
I don't
gonna
know.
be watching it pretty closely because
Yeah, I've been trying to pay attention to it. So, but like I said, I'm just trying to gear up the team for what would you do if Buyer Comp went away tomorrow?
you know who was great and who actually spoke to our offices is you know Kim Allard. She was the president of one of the realtor associations for a while.
No, I don't.
She's in Braintree, I believe. She
Okay.
spoke to us. I can give you her contact. She's very knowledgeable on the subject. She broke it down for us. She kind of told us what could happen. What it might be worth an hour of your time to.
No, sounds good. We do like a Tuesday training day. Always trying to invite a vendor in or something just to keep the skill set. Maybe we could have her on the podcast. We talk all about it.
She'd be great on
Ooh,
this. She's
that's a
funny.
good idea.
She's good. She's funny.
Okay.
Would you come back and jam with us?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was cool.
I like
So,
that.
Yeah, that'd be good. I do think it's worth expanding on for sure. So, all right, we're running low on time here. So,
What can I ask one more question?
Yeah, sure.
What states do you operate in?
We are licensed in Mass, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and that's the same for the mortgage company as well. Mass, New
So you
Hampshire,
do
Rhode
all
Island.
3 states.
We do all 3 states. Yep.
And what made you, or what sort of prompted you to,
You just have to if you're border selling.
to take on those new states?
Just so, I mean, being on the North Shore of Mass, the proximity to New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
And then in Rhode Island, we're only about 30 minutes from Providence, from our Bridgewater office.
Wow.
I actually have one agent that lives in Rhode Island. And Rhode Island's even easier. It's fully reciprocal. So you basically pay them a fee and they give you
So sick of giving up the referral fees,
exactly.
took
Yeah.
it in-house and did it yourself.
And it's fairly easy. I mean, it's a pretty low. Once you're already invested in a brokerage, like to opt to have another couple licenses, not a huge ordeal. So it makes sense. We don't do a ton in New Hampshire and Rhode Island, but we do enough that it makes sense. So
Interesting. I was going to say something I can't remember.
So are we ready for the end?
Anything else you want to talk about
Yeah.
that we didn't talk
no,
about?
this was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no,
We're not done yet. We have one last question. So
Uh-oh.
the name of the podcast is The Word.
Okay.
And we like to ask all of our guests, if you were to distill down your vision for the next 12 months into one word, what would that word be?
My vision, or what I think the next 12 months is gonna be like.
Either, like
So
what
your focus.
what you're going to focus on.
My focus is going to be on prosperity.
Ooh,
I like that.
expand.
Yeah, tell us.
I want to.
That was deep.
So,
Get into the mic.
yeah.
Chris.
So
Tell the
we
listeners.
kind of alluded. It's been difficult these
Yeah,
last
for
6
sure.
or 12 months. I think for everybody in the real estate related world, right? Attorneys,
Yep,
lenders, real
all of
estate
us.
brokers. I think we're doing a lot of really good things, and I think because of it, we're in a place that we can really succeed and do well over these next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
So
The firms that stayed with it and leaned in to the shift, so to speak, I think will come out significantly on top.
yeah, I think if you've shied away from it and backed off and like lost focus, it's going to be these next 12 months going to be tough for you.
It's gonna compound exponentially over the next 2-3 years in your business if you opted out, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now it's the time to hit the gas, not the brakes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, Scotty, thanks for coming on, man. This was awesome. We'll definitely have to get Kim on. Kim, if you're a listener, we're
Kim,
publicly
if you're listener 13,
we're,
we can't wait to
we're
have you.
publicly inviting you on, as well as Brett from Indian Rock Inspections. 2 separate pods coming up here in the near future, hopefully. So,
And we will have more Spindrift for you.
yeah.
Spindrift water.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. LaCroix, you're out.
And Scotty, where can the people find you?
I don't even know my handles in social media. I
Come
believe
on.
it's S Jones Jr. 419 on Instagram, and I'm Scotty Jones on Facebook. I have a business page, but I don't use it a lot. It's
Wow.
my personal page. But you
You
can
need
find the
like
firm.
Remax Scotty or
The
something.
firm is Own Greater Boston. That's on all. on all the
Greater
I
social
like
socials,
that. Like
Yeah.
selling
The
Boston.
firm does more than I do publicly.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll look forward to the Go Back invite. We're probably going to do like a word social event where we just have all the guests on, do a little mastermind. Yeah, a little meetup.
Can we drink the tequila?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Are we doing it here? I hadn't even thought of
No,
doing
we're gonna
it
have
here.
we're gonna have to do it somewhere like cool.
This isn't cool.
Let's
Let's
What about the
think
tall
about
ship
that.
place? I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Yeah.
No, kind of trendy. Uh-uh.
We might be old
Oh,
for the
I know.
vibes
Sucks, huh?
there.
I just turned 38.
Yeah. Same-ish. All right, man. Call it.
Cool.
Bye.